welcome to ECCB Connects. Cybersecurity is an increasingly major issue in these times of COVID-19. As we're aware, more and more businesses are encouraging persons to access their services online in this new normal. We will look at the associated risks, the threats that both businesses and individuals face, and offer some tips to tighten cybersecurity. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this message.
To avoid getting the coronavirus, remember to wash your hands thoroughly and frequently before and after preparing food, after using the toilet or changing a diaper for a baby, sick person, or the elderly, after blowing your nose, and after leaving large gatherings or moving away from persons who appear ill. Encourage others to wash their hands and also use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer of 60 to 70% solution. Stay away from events having large gatherings of people. You can expose yourself to more possible infections in large groups. Also, avoid sharing cutlery, cups, glassware, etc. with others. Viruses can linger on these items and may be transferred this way. Avoid shaking and holding hands, and hugging or keeping an infected person in close proximity. This is a message from the Ministry of Health and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA.
Welcome back to ECCB Connect. I am joined by Genelle Lake, who's an Information Security Analyst at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Genelle, thank you for being on ECCB Connect.
Good day, everyone, and thank you, Shanna, for inviting me to the show. I'm really excited to discuss cybersecurity in the age of COVID-19, or as you rightly put it, the new normal, for the benefit of our listenership.
With all the lockdowns and curfews, working from home or telecommuting, as we put it, and limited hours of operations for businesses, we are seeing that more businesses are promoting their online presence and advising persons to make use of their services online. So tell us, what are some of the major cybersecurity challenges that this situation presents?
You're quite right, Shanna. On account of the shutdowns and the shelter-in-place orders, entities of all kinds are now turning to some form of online operation. And for the most part, these newfound online technologies do offer a great deal of good. They make teleworking capabilities available to businesses to ensure continued operations. They enable retail businesses to operate online stores. Schools are utilizing online platforms to ensure that children can continue to have access to education, and churches to ensure that worship can continue. It is important to remember, though, that as more business operations are made available online, the more exposed those businesses are to threats, viruses, and data leaks. Not to mention, experts have observed that hackers around the world are taking advantage of the rapid, widespread changes in the workforce. And these are the risks that we face and the challenges that must be overcome. In addition to the age-old cybersecurity challenges associated with not falling victim to phishing attacks, making sure that credentials, user accounts, and passwords don't become compromised by hackers, ensuring that sensitive company data are not stolen, that online services are not brought down by malicious actors, among other things, businesses now have to navigate the cyber hazards of a remote workforce. In this new remote working arrangement, businesses must concern themselves with employees working away from the safety of the office environment, on less secure Wi-Fi networks, and using devices that are not aligned with or set up per company's policy controls. And this leaves those businesses and their newly and often rapidly deployed teleworking infrastructure particularly vulnerable to cyber attacks. These are the challenges of the present day.
So more individuals are conducting business online, we are shopping online, we are doing online banking. What are some of the major threats that they are exposed to?
The common threats of today are not unlike the common threats of yesterday or pre-COVID-19. In many cases, it's the same threat, but with a little COVID-19 flair. For instance, phishing emails have always been a source of threat, and they continue to be that now. We are seeing a growing number of cyber criminals exploiting the COVID-19 outbreak and people's appetites for and curiosity towards the outbreak for their own personal gain. So we're seeing phishing emails claiming to be from the Director General of the World Health Organization or some other trustworthy authority, or we're seeing emails bearing a COVID-19 themed subject line. So same old phishing threat, just packaged as a COVID-19 message aimed at tricking people into clicking on links and revealing credentials or downloading malicious software to their computers or mobile devices. And so as users conduct more online transactions, they would have to be mindful that some of the invitations that they receive to participate in online sales or in information gathering would be a threat, and they would have to treat with those accordingly. Other threats include specific exploits.
Before you go on to the other threats, can you explain phishing for those who do not know the term?
Just to define phishing for our audience, phishing is a fraudulent attempt to obtain sensitive information such as usernames, passwords, and credit card details by disguising oneself as a trustworthy entity in an electronic communication. And these electronic communications tend to be email most times. You would also see some in the form of SMS messages, but more often than not, and SMS messages are simply just short message service messages that you receive on your mobile phones. But more often than not, these come to you in the form of emails. So how does one spot a phish? They often come to you unexpectedly, claiming to be from a company or a person you know or trust. And they often tell a story to attempt to trick you into clicking on a malicious link or opening a dirty attachment. These stories tend to be about suspicious activity or login attempts, problems with accounts or payments. Sometimes they would cite a bank that you may do business with. Sometimes you don't do business with the bank, but the alarming message would cause you to respond. It would come also in the form of seeking confirmation of personal information, eligibility for refunds or payment of some kind. And as I mentioned, many of these phishing emails in this current circumstance would come to you offering coronavirus-related information. The guidance that we give is that you delete these emails as soon as you see them. This is if you're operating in a personal capacity. If you're operating in a corporate capacity, you would want to report them to your information technology or security team for investigation, if this is applicable to you.
And I believe many of these emails would be, very convincing so that they would catch the attention of those persons.
Yes, these phishing emails, they are designed to alarm you. They're designed to make you respond without thinking. And so what we are cautioning persons to do is to sit for a moment and consider what the email is claiming and to see whether it truly applies to you, if it is applicable, if it is trustworthy, if it makes sense. So you do a simple, a rough assessment of what the claims of the email are to determine whether or not it makes sense to you.
So just don't click and go.
Don't just click and go. Absolutely right.
Well, Genelle, in your line of work, you probably have a list of frequent mistakes businesses and individuals make while they're online. What are the major mistakes they make, and what advice would you offer to help protect them against the many threats that are out there?
The biggest mistake that I see persons making most frequently has to do with phishing emails. I know we touched on it a bit already, but I just wanted to repeat the point that you should avoid phishing emails at all costs, particularly in this environment when the persons orchestrating these phishing emails are preying on your concerns about the COVID-19 situation. So they would embed the message with COVID-19, with enticing COVID-19 messaging to make you respond accordingly. Another frequently made mistake is one which is also very avoidable, just like phishing emails. It is practicing poor password hygiene. So this includes using weak, easily guessed passwords, sharing passwords among friends and family, reusing the same passwords upon every reset, and using the same passwords for all accounts. Committing these password faux pas make it very easy for your passwords to be guessed and for your accounts to become compromised. The recommendation is for strong passwords or passphrases to be used. These passphrases should be sufficiently long and should have complexity in the form of special characters and numbers. One should also take care to avoid sharing passwords with others and reusing the same passwords over and over and across all applications. This is to ensure that the compromise of one account is not a compromise of all accounts.
Before you continue, Genelle, what would you consider to be an easy password, and give us an example of what you recommend, a passphrase?
Easy passwords tend to be things that are easily guessed. So it might be your name, it might be your date of birth, it might be something that someone who knows you could easily guess. So it could even just be the word password. The word password has been a popular password in the world, a popularly weak password in the world for a very long time. The passwords that we're recommending, or passphrases for that matter, they tend to be phrases as indicated in the name. So a combination of words and spaces where some of the letters are swapped out for numbers and special characters. To illustrate, I would give you an example of this is my strong password, where the this could be a capital T, a lowercase h, an exclamation point to represent the I, a dollar sign for the S, a space, an M and a Y, another space, strong in lowercase letters, for instance, maybe with the @ symbol representing the O, and password in some other combination of special characters and numbers, maybe a 0 for the O and another @ symbol for the A. And maybe you might want to put the icing on the cake with an exclamation point on the end. This is an example of a passphrase, which is sufficiently long. I didn't make a count of how many characters are included there, but hopefully it's as long as 14 characters if you include the spaces, and there is complexity. So you have numbers, you have special characters, and you have uppercase and lowercase letters mixed in.
I can see how this will be difficult to crack.
Yes, not impossible. You make a very good point. Not impossible, just difficult.
Thank you for clearing that up, Genelle. Let's now continue with other password hygiene practices.
Sure, happily. So good password hygiene does not just relate to the composition of passwords and where you use them online, but it also applies in terms of how you secure your personal devices, especially as we are using our personal devices to do so much online business. You want to ensure to password protect your devices with these same strong passwords, especially if these devices are used to conduct work or corporate business. So other frequently observed yet easily avoidable mistakes have to do with not using antivirus software on personal devices and using old and outdated software and applications. Where antivirus software is concerned, there are many options available, and the options are priced to suit any budget. The use of it can help to secure devices from viruses and malware, and this offers a great deal of protection for you, because what we may not appreciate is how prevalent viruses and malware are and how easy it is for our devices to become infected by them. The use of up-to-date applications also offers similar protections, as with every new release of software, developers take care to address security vulnerabilities that, if left unchecked, can result in device compromise.
Definitely. So, Genelle, it's not only about passwords and passphrases, it's also important to protect the devices. Now, we also spoke about COVID-19 and the situation where businesses are encouraging more online activity, and more businesses are holding meetings on online platforms and engaging with their workers this way because of social distancing. What do businesses need to consider to protect the privacy of their engagement?
This is actually a very relevant topic under the circumstances, as we could no longer sit down and engage in physical face-to-face meetings. So a very relevant tip for the times has to do with making sure that as we use these online meeting platforms, we make use of the security features that are available in these platforms to safeguard ourselves and our engagements. Some of these features include the use of password or PIN protections, the use of waiting room features to decide who gains access to sessions, and the maintaining of tight controls over screen sharing and audio capabilities to prevent malicious persons from sharing unsavory or malicious content. So in addition to making sure that online meeting platforms are secure, what businesses may want to do, and some have already done this, they've put in place corporate VPNs or virtual private networks. And what this does, this creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your remote workforce and their devices and the corporate network. And these are strongly recommended to ensure that the corporate transactions and the sensitive corporate data traveling over the public internet are protected from interception. These are also used by persons, more tech-savvy persons, as they conduct their online banking. They connect to personal VPNs, they configure and connect to personal VPNs when they need to do sensitive transactions online, such as online banking. And we know how relevant that is at the time, at this moment, when we're not able to go into the banks as frequently as we would like.
Genelle, school is out and children are at home. And we know them, they're on the internet 24/7. What advice would you offer to parents to ensure that they monitor the children effectively while they're online so that the children do not expose themselves and their families to the threats that are out there?
It's important that we talk to our family members, particularly children, about staying safe online. We know how they're tech savvy and they enjoy helping themselves to online games, but it's important for them to understand that their interactions on these devices could hurt us too. It's important for them to understand that they should only interact with known and trusted sites, and they should only download or perhaps seek permission before downloading applications, software, and games, because you want to make sure that these two are trusted and verified, because the compromise of your device is ultimately a compromise of you and your device. And for those persons working from home, you want to make sure to restrict the use of your devices to work matters only, to avoid any sort of corporate network compromise.
Genelle, you have expressed the importance of businesses, individuals, and families, including the children, to be safe while online. What's that one final piece of advice you will offer to everyone at this age?
So just as in this coronavirus pandemic, everyone is advised to practice good personal hygiene, I'm going to leave by asking our listening audience to make sure that they practice good cyber hygiene. And the tips offered in today's presentation would do well to set them on that path.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Genelle, for sharing with us your expertise on this very important issue of cybersecurity. Very timely and useful information for us all.
To view any episode of ECCB Connects anytime, any place at your convenience, check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn at ECCB Connects.
This brings us to the end of another episode of ECCB Connects. Thank you for viewing, and while you continue to adhere to the necessary guidelines to prevent against contracting the coronavirus, remember to do all that you can to stay safe while conducting business online.